Thanks for joining us here at the ranch. We are in Lucille, Idaho, and this is the 7U Ranch. We're halfway between McCall and Grangeville, Idaho. So we decided to put together an online field trip for you because we know so many kids are doing school at home right now. So anyway, this is my daughter Reese, and this is JJ the pig. And she is with us right now because we're feeding her some raw milk from our dairy cow, and she's just being supplemented because her mom had a little bit of trouble when she was having babies and doesn't quite have enough milk for her. So she's doing really well on that, but she's extra friendly because of it too. So anyway, I wanted to kind of go over what we're going to do first. We're going to start by heading over to the milk barn. I'm going to show you how we milk. Then we're going to go over to the pigs and we'll talk about them. From there we'll go to the sheep, and you'll get to see the girls use their dogs to bring the sheep in and what we do and talk a little bit about them. And then we'll go over to the goats and we'll end with the cows and do a little demonstration with our cattle dogs. They're called hanging tree cow dogs, and they actually work really hard for us. Really important part of what we do here. And they're going to just give a little demonstration of how they help move cows for us and that sort of thing. So while we're doing this, be thinking of any questions you have, because at the end you can put them in the box below this video in the comments box, and we will answer all of them. One of us will answer them. I ended up having so many questions early on from our email that because we asked for any questions before we got started on this, and there was many more than I was expecting, so I don't think we're gonna have time to answer them all today. We'll try and answer them during the field trip, but if we don't, just like I said, go ahead and put them in the comments box below, and one of us will definitely answer your questions. So right now we're gonna go over and I'm gonna show you how we milk the cows. So let's head on over right now. Okay, so this is our milking barn, and this is where we milk the cows. The past 5 years we've done about 3 cows that we milk for our permit, but now we're just down to 1 cow for what we use her milk for is our family's personal use. We make cheese, and we use the milk in half and half, and butter we can make out of her cream. We can make ice cream, so there's so many uses for her milk. Then the pigs get fed and supplemented with skim milk, as well as it's been really healthy for our dogs to add for their dog food. So those are some of the uses we have for it. So it's a really important part of what we do here. But it's going to be kind of noisy today because we calf share. We don't feed any grain with our cows, so we only need milk once a day. Otherwise it's just too hard on her. And then we also, the cow still gets to have her calf with her all the time. So it's been about a month, and this is the first night that the calf has been away from her mom. So we're gonna, she gets pulled off at night and then put back in with the mom during the day and feeds all day and is out in pastures. That just allows that calf to be much healthier because she gets to stay on her mom's milk. So that's how we do that. I'm gonna just have you come on in with me real quick, and I'm gonna show you how I prepare the udder and how we get started milking. So come on in. The first thing I'm doing right here is just washing off the udder, and I want to wash just what I need and not do the whole udder because I don't want to rinse bacteria down onto the teats. So the next thing now is that I'm going to dry it, and all my rags are disinfected, and so we're just trying to sanitize the udder before we get the milk out. And bacteria multiplies more with moisture, so we're just trying to keep everything really dry. Now at this point I'm going to use iodine, and that's just going to sanitize the teats so that the milk's really clean when it goes into the can. and we strip out just a little bit of milk out of each of the teats, because the milk that sits in the entry has a lot more bacteria in it, bad bacteria, not necessarily healthy bacteria. So we want to clean all that out, and then everything behind that has good bacteria in it. Now we're just drying that iodine off. Then we're ready to hook up the machine. So now Annie and her calf are going to head back to the pasture and spend the day together, and I just got word that one of our sows just farrowed, and what that means is that she just had babies. So we're going to head over there and let you take a look. This is where the sows are farrowing this year. This is the spot we're doing that in. We move them around from throughout the year, and so farrowing just means that when they're having their baby pigs. So I'm going to ask Liam some questions. He and Reese and Riand do most of the work with the hogs and the sows and the babies. And so Liam, how long are they in this area usually, ideally, before you are able to move the baby pigs, wean them, and that sort of thing?
Well, they wean at about 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, depends on the pigs. Every litter is about a little bit different, but they start getting out at about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, and then you can sort of start moving them, and they build up their strength and smarten up, and you don't really have to worry about them getting hurt or anything, so you can start moving them at 2 to 3 weeks, and they'll wean at about 6. Like I said, it varies from sow to sow, so we try to pay attention to each sow, what the pig's needs are. So.
And how many baby pigs do they normally have? What's the average?
We like them to average about 8. That's the easiest on the sow. They can have, as many as 13 or more, but we like them to have 8 because it's easier on the sow, and so it's the nice happy medium.
Okay. So when they wean, how often do you move them? I know you do paddocks. We have the paddocks. So how often do you guys move those pigs to the next paddock? And the paddocks are just sections that they use electric fence to move them to fresh grass and ground, and they feed them there, so they're always kind of staying ahead of parasites and that sort of thing. So how often, once they're weaned, do those hogs get moved from paddock to paddock? What's kind of that ideal? Or is it different? How do you tell when to move them?
It's a little bit different from the sows and the weaner pigs, but on the weaner pigs, they're about 2 to 3 weeks. It depends on the type of year. Winter is going to be a little bit slower, but during the spring you want to move them a little faster because the grass is growing, and they like to eat the grass in the spring. So move them a little bit quicker so that they don't root as much. They'll graze and they'll kind of root where the thistles and stuff are in the poor ground. Then we can reseed that back with barley or whatever. And later in the summer, we'll move them a little bit slower and get them to root a little bit. And we like to do it where we can water it down to get it growing again, because when it's hot and dry it'll get dusty. So we like to do it when there's we can irrigate a little bit and get things growing back. So it's generally about 2 weeks in, and then in the fall it's a little longer because there's the natural rain and stuff, and we'll prep it for sort of the next spring to grow.
All right, so now we're going to take you over and let you take a look at a couple sets of our piglets. They're at different ages, and some brand new ones that I was telling you about earlier today. So let's go on over and take a look at the baby.
Okay, well these are their newer pigs that we just had. Well, this sow just had, and you can see they're pretty good sized. We keep them in a smaller sort of hut to keep we want the sow to be close to the pigs, and we put this board up here to keep the pigs from running off too early because they like to roam. We've had pigs when they farrow, right when they're first born, they'll run off, and we got to go find them. But we keep that board up so they don't run off. And like I said, when about two weeks, so they're big enough they'll get in and out, and they're healthy and strong. But you can see they're all different kinds of colors. The male hog was white, and this one's black, but her father was red, so they get all kinds of different colors. We get the blue, sort of blue and white ones, we call those blue butts, and we have the red, and we have some with stripes. These are a little different colored bunch, but anyways, let's go over to our first farrowing sow, and we'll go look at those. Okay, these are our larger pigs. I believe they're 2.5 weeks old or so. As you can see, we sort of let them run outside on their own as they get out, and they'll roam out pretty far. We've had them come down to our house and visit us in the morning. So they have kind of interesting personalities. They're a lot of fun to have around, but they sort of wander off and do their own thing. They eat grass, and they'll root a little bit, and they'll start eating grain, and you can sort of see as they're transitioning from nursing on their mom to eating grass and stuff. So they're about 2.5 weeks, 2.5, maybe 3 weeks old, and so they'll probably wean in probably 3 more weeks or so. And in this case, there was 6 of them. Okay, so next we're going to go to the sheep, and you're going to see my dad and sisters, and they're going to talk about the sheep and what they're doing with them.
Lie down. Lie down.
Alright, so the girls got some sheep up here. Got these ewes and their babies here, and traditionally in the past we put them in electric field fence nets and moved them daily or every other day. This year we're trying something new. That wasn't working real good for us, so this year we're trying something new with these ewes. You can see they're all fitted with collars, like a dog collar, and we're staking them out this year. It's working really good so far. I've been doing this for about a month. So these are hair sheep, they're not wool sheep, so they're just raised primarily for their meat. And what the girls are going to do right now is they've got their tethers and stakes out, and they're going to catch these ewes up, and it's just the ewes that have collars on, so we just tie the ewes out, and then they'll stake that, drive the stakes into the ground, and the lambs all run free and the yearlings run free, and the ewes stay put. And the lambs will drift around on the hillside and stuff, but they stay right here. They don't get too far. And this allows us, by staking them, it allows us to put them into some of these more brushy areas. You can see those ewes up there right now eating on the rose bushes. We can stake them into the rose bushes. We can stake them into the blackberry brush and get them to eat that stuff rather than just drifting around on the hillside. So it's been working really, really good for us, and I think we'll probably be doing more of it. Takes a little bit more time, but I think we're getting a better result out of it. So anyway, that's what they're doing now. They're catching them up. You see them snapping them up right there. And, they'll get them all caught. They'll get all the moms caught, and then they'll go to driving the stakes into the ground, and they'll stay here till this evening. And then this evening they'll go back into the pen, and they'll spend the night in the pen with these babies. We don't leave them out at night just because of predators, coyotes, and what right now. So probably a little later on in the year in the summertime we'll probably leave them out at night potentially for a little bit. But right now it's just not worth the chance of the coyotes getting them on us. So anyhow, that's where they're at. So you can watch them here for a minute, and I think Rianne is going to catch up one of the kids one of the lambs for us and bring it down here. You can see too that the girls are using the dogs to hold the sheep in place for them and keep them from drifting off, so they don't have to chase them around all over. That's how they bring them in every night and bring them out every night, so the dogs and the sheep get used to each other pretty quick and makes things a lot easier. You know, 3-4 years ago, it was nothing like this. We couldn't even thought about doing what they're doing today. So the dogs are a huge help to the girls with the sheep right now. Huge help for us and everything, but especially with the sheep, moving them every morning and every evening. All right, so Rianne caught up one of the lambs for us to look at here real quick. I think, Rianne, this is one of the triplets?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So is that normal?
It's pretty common. Usually they have twins.
Mostly twins? And how old is this little guy here?
She's 2 weeks old.
Oh, it's a she, sorry. She's 2 weeks old, so, and what's the most you've ever had?
Quadruplets.
Quadruplets, yeah, that's pretty cool. How did they all live then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she weaned them all.
Weaned them all and they lived, that's pretty cool. So, but triplets is a pretty good, so she'll wean these on her own too. This ewe will wean these lambs. And,
Yeah,
yep,
she will.
Yep, so, and were they all ewe lambs? Or?
Yeah, all three.
All three were ewe lambs, huh? That's interesting. So, anyway, that's kind of what they look like up close, and we'll probably be headed here to the goats next, I believe. Is that right? Yep, we're headed to the goats next. So join us we'll go look at the goats and what we use them for. Alright, so here's our goats, some of them anyway. They're kind of staked out all over the place. You can see they're staked and collared, and this is where the idea for the sheep came from, was the goats work so good on the goats. We decided to try it, see if we could do it on the ewes, and so far we're having really good success with it. These guys don't come in every night. They stay out here, and I move them basically every other day. Got some here, got some down in the brush. There's some up here on the hillside. They're around the house and the barn and the shop. And we're just using them for weed eating. They're saving me a bunch of time on mowing, and we're getting size and growth on our kids. So they're real handy that way. We've got some out on the hillside in the north over there in the rose bushes, and that's where they're really working good for us. They're really hard on those rose bushes. We fought those for a lot of years, and now we're just grazing them. We're just browsing them. We finally found something that really likes to eat them, and that's goats. And so we stake them out next to the rose bushes and get them to eat what we want. Basically, what's happening right here. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Move them around every day. We've got some big wethers and stuff, and the Billy, he's up out on the hillside too, doing the same thing, eating rose bushes. So anyway, that's what these guys look like, and next we're gonna go have a look at some beef cows. So in the video screen here you see a few cows and their calves. I think there's a few steers mixed in here too, and you'll see Trip, that's my dog, Trip, one of my dogs, and we use dogs a lot on the place for helping us move livestock, goats. We use them on sheep. You saw that earlier, and of course we use them for cows. We even use them for moving hogs around and stuff too. So they're a pretty invaluable tool to us, and you'll see them here in a minute. And I'm out there on a four-wheeler, but he's doing most of the work, and I'm just kind of, there he is. I'm just kind of moving him along and telling him what I want, and having him gather these cattle up, and it just makes my life a lot easier, and all of our lives a lot easier. So they're pretty important. I'd rather have a good dog than the four-wheeler, because it saves me a lot of headache and work and time with the dog. So you see him kind of starting to break and run right there, and so he's gonna slow him down here after a bit and get him gathered up and bring him. What we're doing is moving them into a different pasture. We're trying to get these moms and their babies moved into a different pasture. So Trip's helping me out here a bunch and saving me a lot of time and keeping calves from running back and crawling through the fence and everything else. He'll do the same thing for the girls with sheep and on the goats too. So it really makes my life easy. I don't have to worry about fences or anything else if I have a dog. And that's what we use them for basically every day on the place. If we're doing anything with livestock, there's a dog. There's at least one dog, and sometimes two or three, or who knows. But anyway, you'll see him. He gathers them up here, and then he holds them up for me. After a little bit here, he kind of holds them. He stops them for me because I wanted to look over some of those calves and see how they were doing. So he'll kind of hold them up at the gate for me and stop them, because and they're all around me, and that's what Trip does. So he makes everything real easy. He'll hold those cattle for me. I can look at them. They're one old mama cow getting ornery, but anyhow, she's afraid he's going to hurt her baby, which he won't at all. He's a pretty well trained dog. He will not bite a little baby calf like that. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of the norm around here. If you come up here at any given time, you're going to see a couple, 2-3 dogs running loose, and probably with somebody doing something. So there he goes. I sent him ahead right there. You see me in the middle, and he's going to stop those cows from going through that gate right there. So and he's just going to hold everything up and let me look things over. I'm sitting on the four-wheeler right there, and that's what we use them for, moving livestock and holding livestock up every day around here. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed the video.
So that wraps up our ranch field trip today, and I just wanted to say thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, like I mentioned earlier, if you thought of any questions about the animals or how we do things here, we'd love to answer them, and we're going to answer all of them. So just leave them in the comments box below this video. And if you want to ask a specific person a question too, you can do that. but we'll answer every one of them. Also, if I missed your question that you emailed in, I'll go ahead and leave the answer down in those comments also. So I hope we get to meet you sometime, and thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.